Welcome everybody to the Algarve International Circuit in the south part of Portugal. We're just a short drive north of Portimao, the beautiful coastal town. And despite the last week or so having been battered in this area by the storm that much of Western Europe has been also tackling, we are now, it seems to be in a pocket of sunshine and very pleasant weather. It may only be today, Saturday only, because the forecast for tomorrow and the second European Le Mans Series race of the weekend looks somewhat bleak. But thankfully for these cars, the Ligier European Series and their 6th heat of the season, they will already have completed the 2 races that are on the bill this weekend. So the cars heading out of the pit lane to take their positions on the grid. We'll have a rolling start for these cars as well. 1 hour of racing with a mandatory pit stop. My name's Johnny Palmer. I'm joined by Graham Goodwin, the editor of dailysportscar.com. And the Ligiers, well, they will have qualified yesterday and practiced indeed in some wet weather, but it looks like they've brought the beautiful conditions with them, Graham.
It most certainly does. This is about the best we've seen in almost a full week already here, Johnny. And let's hope it remains like this. The European Le Mans Series had the first of 2 races here this weekend yesterday, and it was wet, dry, wet, dry, wet, dry, wet, dry, wet, dry. And I'm not even exaggerating. At the moment, a little bit of damp patches you can still see out on the track there, but there's a bit of a breeze, warming sunshine. So my guess is before we get much deeper into this morning, it's going to be a fully dry track.
One of the big stories emerging from, now was it Thursday? The days are rolling into one, but Michelin Stefan, who is already champion, had a big crash in practice,
Thursday,
which significantly damaged the 48 car. But unbelievably, it will start both races, we're hearing, or at least it'll start this one, and fingers crossed it'll be fine for later on today as well. However, because no qualification time for the Romanian, that gives a chance for everyone else to shine in a sense, and Simone Riccitelli will be on pole position for LR Motorsport in the number 7 JS P4, ahead of George King for Team Virage in the 60. Then it's Dimitri Engelbert and Haytham Caragiuli for Pegasus and RLR respectively. The Pro-Am best qualifier is Louis Rossi for Les Deux Sabres, and then it's Chuting Xu and Georgios Kolovos in the HB Racing by Monza garage car. The next batch of cars, JS2 Rs, the GT-derived machines for Les Deux Sabres, Jacques Nicolet to start from pole in the 86, ahead of David Rodrigo and Julien Lemoine, potentially the champion this weekend. Laurent Millara, Martin Rich, who's effectively a guest driver to replace Simon Butler for the Portuguese races, ahead of Lance Fenton and Michelin Stefan. So clearly the number 1 JS P4 also had some difficulty in qualifying, and that will start from the back row as well.
Yeah, again, mixed conditions for the cars in qualifying, so you really had to be on track with the car in optimum conditions, and that can't be everybody, can it? But coming down now, down this sweeping right-hander that finishes the lap, completes the lap here to start race 1, Johnny.
So if you qualified the car, and each driver gets a chance to do that in 2 separate qualifying sessions, if you were the qualifier, then you start the race and switch over to your co-driver, if you've got a co-driver, somewhere between 27 minutes and 34 minutes. This is always a delicate part of the day, making sure that you are straddling the grid hatchings for the rolling start. The red lights dictating things as they are eliminated now, and one car does not get away at all, the Pegasus racing car, which
17.
it must be Dimitri Engelbert. The car just did not fire into life. However, George King has got the jump on Simone Riccitelli to take the race lead, swooping around the outside of turn number 1. So it's George King leading for Team Virage, ahead of LR Motorsport, Simone Riccitelli. Another car from Virage in Strive. That's the one car that started from the back row. However, good early progress being made from Michelin Stefan in the rebuilt 48 car. He's already up to 9th.
9th place. That's a storming start from the championship winner, we can say. You can see again there, up the inside of 2 further cars. So further rapid progress being made by the 48 car for the very back position on the grid, Johnny.
So good dicing here as well in the midfield. It's Louis Rossi side by side with one of the many other cars, the Virage cars in the entry. There is the number 10 for JS2R, started by Martin Rich, and that's the Pro-Am leader in JS2R as well. He's trying to hunt down Jacques Nicolet, who started the number 86 car, as they now swoop through the left-hander at Craig Jones. we've still got this untangling happening, in a sense, because on our timing screen, the JS P4s have a red backing, the JS2 Rs have a blue backing, and they're really jumbled up on this first lap of the race.
Absolutely. Race start is under investigation. There's nothing unusual about that, but I'm sure they'll be looking at that rocket ship start from Michelin Stefan. Let's hope he managed to keep his trigger toes just in check to the point where he could be released. He, by the way, already up to 5th position, Johnny, and right with the leading group.
So heading out, very, very wide for George King. I was about to say heading out of turn 15, the final corner, to whip across the line. That's been a good opening lap for George King, but he made a very slight error coming through the final corner. And the problem is, if you slightly miss the racing line in these just about dry conditions, that's then extrapolated and you end up way, way wide, as in 2 or 3 car widths wide. So he's only lost 1 position. The problem is now massive pressure from behind, from Chuting Shu, from Monza Garage in the number 11 car, and Haytham Karagiuli, the young man from Kuwait City in car 75.
Good news, by the way, for Ligier European. Whatever the cough was at the start of that race, he has managed to get the car rolling and actually is up into 13th place because of that spin for Lance Fenton.
So Haytham Karagiuli really pressurising for 3rd position. This was the George King mistake.
Lost the rear end of the car. Just found where the grip wasn't, if you like. But looking, he managed to gather that up and retain momentum, but not enough to defend the lead.
But well controlled, because we've seen some huge accidents there which start off like that. The tail just starts to have a mind of its own, and George King actually wasn't too rattled by it. And then it's a question of, do you get out the throttle? Do you keep the throttle buried? Do you go somewhere in the middle? But the squirm and slide, as probably tyre temperature was still growing at that point, will be useful information the next time he comes through turn 15 as to what not to do. So George King running in 2nd position, but he still has good speed to try and stick with Simone Riccitelli for LR.
That group being closed down here by Michelin Stefan in 5th place, also making progress. Ligier European, he's up to 9th place overall, goes past the new 2nd place car in JS2 R. ELMS Motorsport, Julien Le Mans is up into 10th place overall and 2nd in the class.
Over the line will go Haytham Karagiuli, and he is no longer alone in that 4th position, because if he looks in his door mirrors, there is the rapidly approaching Michelin Stefan as this year's champion already. Complete disaster on Thursday with heavy rear damage to the 48 car. It also ripped apart the barrier on the inside of the exit of turn 15 and delayed the following session. But incredible work from Team Virage. They needed all the spare bits, I suppose, as well, but I'm sure a couple of late nights in order to get him onto the grid. He couldn't qualify, but he is able to race on Saturday. Well,
remarkably, that car in very good order, very clearly, has had no track time in its rebuilt form at all, and is highly competitive, as you can see, right now with Haytham Karagiuli, and puts in the fastest first sector of the race. 3.7 seconds, by the way, Johnny, covers the top 5.
This is a good dice. Up the inside will go Julien Le Mans for the lead in JS2 R, and it happens at turn 5. The tight, sometimes awkward hairpin, as you also are going downhill, and it's the slowest corner on the circuit, but neatly controlled from Julien Le Mans. He was admitting on the Ligier European Series YouTube feed, and it's worth clocking onto that when you get the opportunity, about a week or so ago, that he's relatively inexperienced in motorsport, coming to it late, but nevertheless could be a title winner this year. And Le Mans to the top of the circuit at Portimao, the double right-handers at turns 10 and 11, now the new leader in the JS2 Rs.
There's battles still to be fought here. 54 minutes remain. As we've seen, there's ebb and flow in these races, Johnny. Number of cars with solo drivers, but others with quicker drivers to come. And there's a change there as the 48 car of Michelin Stefan is now ahead of Haytham Karagiuli and up into 4th place.
So there goes the battling duo. And yeah, Michelin Stefan is looking to squeeze this little collection of cars up ahead, and it's actually going to be a virage sandwich between George King and Michelin Stefan. However, Simone Riccitelli is taking this opportunity to stretch his legs. He's just done the fastest lap of the race, and he's over 3 seconds in front now of this gaggle, because they're all really getting distracted amongst themselves. George King needs to maybe get his head down and lose the Monza Garage car behind.
Yes, he is indeed. It's a strong run at this stage of the race from Simone Riccitelli, and Fenton beginning to recover back up through the JS2 R group after that early race spin. It's going past Jacques Nicolet and up into 10th place overall. Closing now on Julien Lenoir, the JS2 R leader. And Nicolet dropping back from that lead. Meantime, Menea Stefan has now got the 3rd place, number 11 car. Chattenju under pressure. No further action, so it was a clean start as well by Stefan. That's excellent news from him.
Slight squirm there from the number 11 Monza Garage car. And clearly, even though we've had some decent sunshine early this morning, there are the odd patches of dampness here and there. And yes, a rolling lap can provide you with a bit of a window into where they are until you're up to racing speed and you happen to maybe get to that part of the circuit. Then you really find out how little grip it's offering. But it's getting better all the time. The sunshine now beating down, so certainly on a racing line looking much better, as Menea Stefan has a very good run on Chuting Shu, but defensive work is also good from the Monza Garage pilot. However, he caught the curve, and there was a bit of contact there from Menea Stefan's front left on the rear right of Chu. These two have to be relatively careful, but also homing in now is another one of the Team Virage cars. So
is that George King?
Well, I wondered that. It is George King. So
yes.
why on earth is he now behind these two? He's obviously gone very, very wide at turns 1, 2 and 3.
He's been off.
And that has allowed these two through. I couldn't quite work out who that was in the Virage car, but now our timing screen corrects to show that George King has dropped to 4th position.
Well, we didn't see that incident, certainly not very clearly. So absolutely right. Let's watch again here how this works through. So that was the contact.
George King is off the track to the right there at this point. So we were being drawn into the nibbling of Menea Stefan on the rear of the Shu car. But little did we know that George King had gone incredibly wide. So that's now a couple of errors from the Englishman.
Notably, by the way, Johnny, ahead of this group, out of sight now, Simone Riccitelli. He is 5.3 seconds clear. So that is some challenge, even if and when Menea Stefan clears the 2nd place car. Now goes up the inside, does exactly that, does he? He's got a good line here for the final turn. That will be job done. George King gets a good run, by the way, too, on the number 11 car. And I think there'll be some nose-to-tail action here down the start-finish straight for George King on the Monza Garage car.
George has definitely got a good run. However, the straight line speed from the Monza Garage car is impressive. And George needs to duck back into the toe again. Now feints to the inside line, but it's damp there, and the car just started to wobble around a little bit, so he had to control that. No way through. The two working with each other, as in Chu and King, are sticking with Menea Stefan for the time being. And as those two squabble, this might be an opportunity for Haytham Caragiuli to get back involved. He is still in 5th place in the background there.
It's taken 9 minutes for Menea Stefan to go from last to 2nd, but the challenge now is the 5.7 second lead that Simone Riccitelli has. The champion for this year, got to try and close up in this early stages of race 1. This, though, Johnny, battle between the 4 and the 17. This is Dimitri Angelbert recovering after that stall at the start. We didn't know why the car coughed to a halt, but he got that running pretty quickly.
Yeah, it's good news that there was nothing more severely wrong with this car, and that it just wouldn't fire into life, presumably, in almost a kind of limp mode, or maybe a limiter was stuck on. But the 17 car looking a lot more menacing now and trying to draw alongside Georgios Kolovos of Greece. So the HP Racing by Monza Garage car in the 0-4 is being challenged there for 6th position. Here's Julien Lenoir in the dark blue and black colours of car number 42, exactly where he needs to be, leading JS2 R. He's also the AM leader, because there are subcategories within this as well, but basically leading outright ahead of Jacques Nicolet, who he managed to overtake a couple of laps ago at the hairpin. leading Pro-Am in JS2 R is Martin Rich. And we will see the talent that is Max Meyer, the young Spaniard, take over at roughly half distance.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting period of this race. 60 car goes up inside the number 11. George King back into third for the moment, but the 11 car gets the run back. Is going to retake that position. Tricky little combination of corners there to get it right and get it done.
Excellent racing though, and fair stuff as well. These two, or rather Miner Stefan and the number 11 car have had a touch of contact, but they managed to escape that. But yes, if you decide to go well right and into turn one, that is going to compromise your exit speed because you're shallowing out the corner on the outside, but tight on the inside. So those that are willing to concede a little bit of track position through turn one can often then gain the benefit into the braking area at 3, and that's exactly what happened. So George King learning from that. Xu Tung Chu perhaps showing more evidence of experience beyond his years of this track as well, and the little intricacies of the Algarve International Circuit. Here comes George King, very late on the brakes at the top of the hill at Portimao, but no way through there.
Tried to show him the dummy, didn't he, really? There wasn't really quite going to work. Again, a sign of growing experience from the man ahead that he didn't fall for that one. Martin Rich here under pressure for third place. In fact, he's lost third place. This is David Rodrigo for 5th place. But closely contested, these positions, and still very much in touch with the front of this field. 13 seconds at the moment separates the 5 cars in JS2R here.
Side by side again. Here comes George King, and this is going to be a much better attempt, I reckon, at taking the race lead, because he's virtually got it done even before they hit the braking area. There's an example of how much the track drops away from you, though, as you head into the slowing down area for turn 1. But George King can finally cement that 3rd position now ahead of Show. And here comes Haytham Karajuli, maybe to capitalise, because Xu Ting Cho is maybe slightly out of his stride now, and this is the time to pounce from the Kuwaiti.
Yeah, pulled right back onto the rear of the 11 car. Dimitri Engelbert, though, frustrated here in trying to get past the 04 car, the HP Racing Le Mans garage entered car, and this is costing him an opportunity to close with the leading pack. So good defensive driving by the Greek driver, puts the nose up the inside there. Again, no intimidation. Going to work there with Golovus. Up and over the hill. And there's Stefan, by the way, is closing the gap to the leader. 10th by 10th, put in the fastest lap of the race last time around, a 1:50.47.0. But still 5.4 seconds behind a charging Simone Riccitelli. Here is the race leader in the number 7, the orange and grey car. What do you call that? It's not grey, it's royal blue, really, isn't it?
I'd say so, yeah, for LR Motorsport. So the Simone Riccitelli driven car that he will be handing over to Jacopo Mazza in due course. Mazza sounds very Italian. He's actually from Lugano in the south of Switzerland, but Italian speaking nevertheless. And it's Luca Riccitelli, Simone's dad, who looks after the team, hence the LR bit, who also has a great history in sports car racing. There is David Rodrigo in the Primer Grey car. So ahead of the 43 is Martin Rich in car number 10.
George King, by the way, getting his head down here. He's on the race leading pace now, albeit he's got about 3 seconds of a gap to Miner Stefan ahead, with that gap now to the leader down to 5 seconds. So this could get much, much closer.
Still very tight for these two as well. Dimitri Engelbert, who in the early stages of his career did several seasons in the Renault Megane Trophy, but he's raced Chevrolet Corvettes in the FIA GT1 era. Been racing for a good, well, possibly almost 20 years now. I think 2004 was his first significant racing season, Dimitri Engelbert. Yep. And he'll be really frustrated with the start of this race, not through any fault of his own, but just that mechanical drama. And it was a good qualifying from him to be on the second row from 3rd position.
Oh, this is, which is this? Is this the one? It is. It's Lance Fenton. Is he going to get through what will still be quite damp gravel. I think he's just about going to get there. Lucky there, very lucky. That could have been race-ending stuff.
Kept the momentum is the key. No matter how slowly you do it, you've just got to keep it going through the stones and try not to allow the car to dig in. So hopefully not too phased by that in the number 1 car, but Lance Fenton still got 1 car to overtake to be with the other block of JS P4s, and that is Michelin Le Mans, who leads JS2 R for A&S Motorsport. Still, Dimitri Engelbert can't find a way to prize the opening on Georgios Kolovos, and Rodrigo on the inside of Martin Rich at the hairpin will get 4th position back again in JS2R.
Absolutely. Chatting to Martin earlier this weekend, bemoaning the fact that I've traditionally called him rapid and now call him a veteran on TV commentary. He's of course both.
Yes, okay. I'm still not sure that's quite a compliment, but he'll take the rapid bit.
He's a lovely guy, and it's great to see him here with Le Mans experience in the little Lotus Evora back in the day. Part of the Chess Alliance run team. That 2-car efforts at Le Mans in 2011, I think.
I was going to say, the early 2010s, certainly.
Fabulous little car, let down somewhat by the engine, I'm afraid.
Okay.
0-4 and 17th, still battling. It's a good run here from Kolovos, fending off the much more experienced Dimitri Engelbert, who I'm sure is getting pretty frustrated here, but a lot he can do.
Got about 10 minutes to go until the pit window opens, so Dimitri Engelbert would dearly like to be by the 0-4 before the pit stops start to happen. That's where the order, or more specifically the gaps between the cars, can alter, because it depends on your driver rating makeup as to how long you need to spend in the pits. It's not a question of, as in the top class of the European Le Mans Series, you do the pit stops as quickly as possible. They're all going to be timed stops from pit in to pit out, but it depends whether you're running with 2 bronzes, a bronze and a silver, or an all-silver lineup, either a solo or double silver. And obviously the double silvers, the single silvers are the better of the categories, so they spend longer in the pit lane. So Absolutely. You're almost penalised for having that slightly better driver lineup, because it generates a much better race for us.
Penultimate race of this year, Johnny, but some good signs of growth for this championship into 2024. Already got contact from 1 new team. It's plan to be here next season. Big lock-up that time for Kolovos.
Yeah, so maybe he's just starting to feel a little bit of pressure here. You've got to make sure that you nurse the car through the full hour. It's a long time to be racing. These cars, of course, are designed to be very durable and reliable. And we used to do an hour plus a lap. It's now 60 minutes bang on, but with that pit stop as well. So you're going to have to also think about some heat soak, because a red-hot engine from the opening stint, then all that heat starts to be soaked up by the rear axle and the engine bay. So sometimes mechanical problems can creep in at the start of the next stint, but it's a rare thing.
Meanwhile, while we're watching this, fastest lap and fastest sector time has been traded by the top 3. It is still 5.3 seconds, the gap. So René Stefan is not making big inroads now into the advantage of Simone Riccitelli. 40 minutes to go in this race. And still some very engaging duels going on up and down the order here, Johnny. Lance Fenton, by the way, recovering from that very wide moment in the final turn, still has not caught Julien Lenoir. Yeah,
and that's a guide to how much time, unfortunately, he lost in that whole process. Lance starting from the back of the grid after some difficulties in qualifying. It will be his teammate to start the second race, though, Kevin Madsen of the southern part of California. Both drivers, it's quite some commitment to cross the Atlantic every month or so to be racing in the Ligier European Series, but they are thoroughly enjoying their time here, and it's going to be exciting to see maybe what their plans are for next year and beyond that, whether they intend to move up the ACO rules ladder, of which this is definitely a sort of entry rung to get yourself into maybe Michelin Le Mans Cup. And if you do well in this championship, there's big prize money on offer to then either move up from JS2 R into JS P4 or onward into the Michelin Le Mans Cup.
Where we've seen, of course, last year's champion right up there, and I think we're expecting to see crowned tomorrow as the champion in LMP3 in the Michelin Le Mans Cup.
Yeah.
Guillaume Henrion, as he blew the field away here last year and is doing equally well almost in the Michelin Le Mans Cup on the next rung of the ladder in sports car racing and with Ligier. What awaits him going into 2024, and what awaits championship leaders and contenders here, as the leader of this race, Simone Riccitelli, now in amongst the JS2Rs in traffic. 5.2 seconds the gap last time through. You would expect that to come down a little before Minea Stefan has to deal with the same traffic, but he's doing well here, Johnny. Nice clean opportunities to pass. It has come down by 0.8 of a second. This will just start to delay him before he can get by Jacques Nicolet. Nicolet may well not yet be aware that the race leader is there. Now he is.
Well, that was important to charge up the inside to make sure that you fill the side window with the LR Motorsport car so that Jacques Nicolet isn't tempted to turn in, and now, slightly on the back foot, he's going to be picked off by Laurent Millara, who's back into the championship in the sky blue colours of Pegasus Racing. Nicolet trying to go up the inside to repay the favour, but the angle rather acute heading into turn 5, and now Jacques Nicolet might be under pressure from David Rodrigo in the LR Motorsport car number 43. Something else to mention, George King has just done the fastest lap of the race, a 1:46.5, which is half a second faster than Minea Stefan's previous effort.
Yeah, and he'll be closing in on this group rapidly too. That gap, by the way, was 5.8 seconds before Minea Stefan caught this group. It was down to 2.6. So what is it going to be? It goes up to 3.6 through this timing sector. But he is, by the look of things, Johnny, going to make up a little bit of ground through this traffic. So as we wait for the lap to be completed, and we wait for Stefan to make his way through on this JS2 R pack, still very closely contested, by the way, the positions 2nd through 5th. All 4 of those cars separated by 4 seconds. George King is indeed closing the gap on Minea Stefan, but again, King too has got to deal with the challenges of this gaggle of traffic. Stefan is through, and he's pulled back, you know, 2.4 seconds through traffic.
Yeah, well, slightly more decisive, perhaps, and able to, well, it also depends on where you're catching the traffic, I suppose. There's an element of luck involved, but also being not exactly forceful, but definitely a little dominant where you need to be. And that's exactly what we saw from the race leader, Simone Riccitelli, having to slide through these GTs as well. The later you can brake, the more deeper you can go into the apex of corners, the more confident you're being, and therefore less likely perhaps to make the contact with those GT or the JS2Rs, the GT-derived cars.
86 car, the windscreen wiper playing there for a moment, so whether or not there's, I don't think there's any rain, whether or not that's just a bit of finger trouble from Jacques Nicolet. Here comes number 11, it'll be the next car to look to deal with the challenges of traffic. So Riccitelli leads 3.2 seconds ahead of Minea Stefan, who's 3.2 seconds ahead of George King, and 6.2 now ahead of Chun-Ting Chu, who is the next driver to deal with our JS2R traffic jam.
Car going very, very wide is Haytham Caragiuli in the number 75 car. And thankfully it didn't spin and head off into the gravel, something that happened to Michael Fassbender earlier in this weekend during qualifying yesterday. And that's mainly because it's nice and dry now, so at least there is some grip out there in the runoff asphalt. But he's, again, steps the tail out there, Graham.
Yeah, but must be dirty tyres there, so he was looking for the grip that he should have had. It wasn't there, was it? Let's watch again here. Straight off. Tries to correct it and just about keeps the car in something approaching a straight line. Did well there.
Demonstrating very well the awesome change of direction ability of these cars, though, because of the downforce. Certainly still wasn't hanging around there, and thankfully was able to just rotate the car enough away from the gravel trap and then rejoin relatively safely, I'll say, in time for turn 10 at Portimao.
Locatelli just closing in now on Lance Fenton to put a lap on the American after, what is that, 26 minutes, and rapidly closing in now, Johnny, on the pit stop window.
27 minutes it is. We're almost at 26 minutes. So yes, engineers, mechanics, pit crews appearing on the pit lane now from the garages, and of course replacement drivers where we have them. The majority of the cars in the JS2 Rs this weekend are actually solo drive, so you won't see drivers getting out, but they will nevertheless need to stay in pit lane for the required amount of time. And actually all of those that are solo driving are bronze rated drivers, so they will be the quicker pit stops in JS2R.
Quite close here as to whether or not at the end of this lap for the leading group, whether or not they are in a position to pit right now. I think they might be a little early. Just watching the car tracker, 20 seconds to go before the pit stop window opens. It's going to be close.
The two leaders are now occupying exactly the same part of the racetrack, which is turn 15, as the number 7 Simone Riccitelli driver will have to lap car 42 Julien Lemoine. 5 seconds to go. It's going to be far too early for car 7. However, the number... Did Lance Fenton pit there? We'll have to wait and see. We're still waiting. Yes, he did. So still waiting for his car to appear on pit road, or no, rather the start-finish straight on our tracker. And this is the reason why, because it's gone the pit lane side of the concrete wall. And obviously they reckon that that was just about right for timing. What we haven't got on our timing screen is the exact time that a car enters pit road, but let's keep our fingers crossed that that is all absolutely okay. Haytham Caragiuli, with that fairly wayward moment a lap ago, is also in for RLR M Sport, and we're seeing pit stops for Georgios Kolovos for HB Racing by Monza Garage in the 04. Louis Rossi in the number 50 Le Deuce Ab car is in. And also 2 JS2Rs, those of Martin Rich to get Max Meyer on board as quickly as possible, and David Rodrigo, who won't need to get out of the car. He'll just sit waiting patiently for those seconds to disappear of the minimum reference time.
Yeah, long gone are the days when the solo driver would get out, walk around the car and get back in.
Has been done though, hasn't
Absolutely.
it? Many times.
That has been part of regulations down through the years.
50 car is in, and this is one of the ones I mentioned for Louis Rossi, and there's a driver change taking place there with Steve Zacchia to take charge. So that's a bronze driver stepping out, silver driver taking over.
Indeed. I'm trying to recall exactly who and where we saw this. That very same rule being in place, the driver getting out the car to walk around and cramping.
Oh no. And then you can't crumple yourself back up again to get in the car because your legs are desperately wanting to be straight instead. And I mean, that's possibly a reason why it's better to stay in the car rather than extend the body. I mean, outgoing drivers, they are going to stay out. And in the longer distance races we've got this weekend, unlikely to get in then for probably, well, 40 odd minutes in the case of LMP2. So at least you get a chance to just shake the body out. But I could understand that being a problem in the old rule set.
Yeah, George King, by the way, is closing on Simone Riccitelli. Gap was up to 7 or 8 seconds. It's now down to 5.5. Just about at the halfway point, all but 35 seconds now, Johnny. Laura Millara pits the 29 car from 3rd in JS2R. Jacques Nicolet staying out. Here come the 2 RLR cars together. Will be Max Meyer from 14th position. Let's see what this young man could do. There's trouble for the 29 car. That car stopped in the fast lane of the pits. Just come in, Laura Millara, and it's not managed to reach its pit stall.
This is not a good race for Pegasus Racing and cars going forwards, because Dimitri Engelbert completely conked out at the start, and it looks like the 29 car has somehow stalled on the limiter, or did he struggle to get it stopped? It just looks like it's rolling in, no problems there at all, and
there's a bit of a stutter there.
Yeah. I wondered whether maybe he'd hit a kill switch rather than the pit lane limiter, but it's continued on far more than I would have expected in that predicament.
Yeah, because if it was on the limiter, it would be in gear.
Indeed. and he needed to go a lot further down. It wasn't as if he was getting confused as to where the team were based this weekend and thinking, oh, I've missed it, no. I need to stop and get a push back. So the team had to run a long way there, probably half the length of the pit lane, to get to where the 29 car had come to a halt, and Laurent Millara will be staying on board that car, but let's hope that it's okay mechanically.
So ones to watch in this phase of the race include Max Meyer, as I say, right at the back of the field, and having taken a longer pit stop because of his driver ranking, he's got 14 seconds to make up before he gets on terms with the next car in the order. David Rodrigo, also on an outlap, by the way, so we'll see how that one pans out. Simone Riccitelli, here comes Jacques Nicolet from the lead in JS2R, and he's the final JS2R to pit. Will do so from 7th position overall. Still waiting for the leading two cars, Simone Riccitelli and George King. That gap still coming down a little, Johnny, 5.3 seconds. So George has had a much better end to his stint than it perhaps began.
Yeah.
Got his head down well. Dimitri Engelbert pits from 3rd after that stutter at the start. Fear the time he spent behind the 11 cars probably means that that car will drop substantially down the order before we see the 17 back out in the hands of. Searches to remind himself, is it Anthony Nara?
Anthony Nara, yeah. And Anthony Nara is fast, but Dimitri Engelbert has really missed the opportunity of handing the car over to Nara in a great position. Here's Simone Riccitelli, so rapid coming into pit road there. It almost looked like he was not going to bother making the stop, but he was running out of time because the pit window closes at 34 minutes. So getting a late-ish call did, I think, get the car down to the required 60 kilometres per hour in time for the pit lane timing loop. And this is side by side with the 75 car, and charging down the inside at turn 5 to take the position on the number 11. So that is Ian Aguilera now ahead of Ray Yu Wang.
Yeah, George King also on pit lane, so that completes the pit stop cycle. And the gap as they cross the timing line, 5.1 seconds. So substantially reduced from where things were just 3 or 4 laps ago. Jacopo Mazza, it is aboard the number 7 car. We sort of reset, don't we? And there's Stefan, having pitted earlier, is now herring round to complete this lap.
Because Giacomo Mazza is also silver, this will be one of the longest stops taking place in pit road. A similar length to that for Minea Stefan. George King in the number 60, silver rated, along with his Portuguese teammate. And actually Bernardo Pinheiro is from Portimao, the town of Portimao. So you talk about this being a home race, he's probably sleeping in his own bed this weekend.
Yeah, literally knows his way around here.
Indeed, yeah, he knows all the back roads to get here nice and quickly. Absolutely. As well in the mornings.
Knows where the best pastel de nata are to be found.
Well, surely anywhere they sell them is the best. It's just faultless as a Portuguese-based snack. Anyway, through the left-hander at turn 13 goes the number 1. However, through the right-hander, that is not the prescribed line for Kevin Madsen. And just trying to work out, that wasn't his out lap. I think it was the next lap around.
It was.
So you can't blame tyre temperature necessarily.
I'm sure there'll be tales to be told on the flights home for Lance and...
Indeed. So Lance has had a spin. Kevin's now had a spin.
No, Lance didn't spin. Lance went wide.
No, okay, all right.
No, that will be the argument that's been played out in the airport lounge.
Kevin will be adamant that he did. But Lance will say, well, my recovery was better because I drove all the way through the gravel track, didn't get stuck there. Kevin, somewhat backwards at a high-speed entry there into turn 10 and 11, but he is still rolling again. That,
by the way, is not 5.2 seconds, and here comes the 48 car, 1, 2, 3, and it's going to go through into second place on the number 60 car as Bernardo Pinheiro emerges from the pit lane. So Giacomo Mazza leads. Bernardo Pinheiro emerged from pit lane in second place, but was immediately pounced upon by Minea Stefan, who is back up into second place. Now, they're checking watches. Was he short on time?
That will be a worry.
And I think he may have been a second short, you know.
Are we talking about the 60 car here?
Yes.
Yeah, yes. Well, Well, everybody else has done 2:24s. There is a 2:23 further down, though, as well. We'll have to check that. The car that has just done its personal best lap in the race, which is Panagiotis Kaitatsis for HP Racing by Monza Garage. That's the 04 and has 2 bronzes driving it, so it can be quite a bit quicker, as in 20-odd seconds quicker than the silvers up ahead. So it's Jacopo Mazza on the 19th lap that leads, having taken that car over from Simone Riccitelli, but now only a 1.9 second gap back to Minea Stefan. Behind the race leader, just putting another lap on Julien Lemois. And by the way, where the ANS Motorsport car is running at the moment is enough, more than enough, to take the title this year. Julien Lemois came to Portugal with a 48-point lead with only 50 available on the table, so he would have had to have had a complete disaster, and the 42 car looking very likely to mop up the championship with 1 race to go.
Great stuff. We then turn our attention to race honours, and the scrap, I think, is going to end up between the race leader Julien Lemois and the charging Max Meyer, who's already up to 4th and closing rapidly on Jacques Nicolet for a podium position. That won't be enough. We've already got, Johnny, a battle for the lead here. Mazza to the outside. I think Minea Stefan's going to be through here, down at the hairpin. Squirrels under braking, gets the car under control, makes it neat and tidy. He's through, back of the grid to lead to the race in under 38 minutes.
Yeah, so impressive. And this is why potentially Minea Stefan could take the same path as Julien Henrion did a year ago. It's with the same team, remember, Team Virage. And as the champion, going to be so exciting to see what he does next. But if he does go into the Michelin Le Mans Cup, then there's a strong chance of him doing really well in that in 2024 as well. Gets on so well with those at Team Virage. It's become a very big team, actually, running 3 cars in this particular category, but so many more across the weekend.
Multiple cars in both the Michelin Le Mans Cup and the European Le Mans Series. Well, they had a pole position yesterday in LMP2 Pro-Am. A pole, in fact, double pole, wasn't it? It's great stuff from Julien Gerby and his crew. Here is Max Meyer, closed in now, as caught Jacques Nicolet in Le Desarbres number 86. This is going to be for 3rd place. How much longer can how can we put this? The senior member of the Nicolet family, responsible for this revived Ligier mark. Up the inside he goes. Jacques says, no, you need to do better than that, sunshine, in French. But finally makes it through, I think, with the shortcut to the next corner. Still, that's holding off. Well, no, that's George King has caught him, hasn't it? That's not George King, Bernardo Pinheiro.
Indeed, yes.
So Bernardo Pinheiro is going to look to do the same move. I don't think he's quite close enough to do it this time. But looking here, then it might be another Team Virage 1-2.
Well, Pinheiro will know this place very well indeed through years, I'm sure, of racing it in the domestic categories when he's had a chance, but now very much on the international stage. The 19-year-old looking for a way by Jacopo Mazza. Maybe going to set up an overtake a couple of corners back, which you can do here if you know the secrets of the Portimao circuit, the Algarve International venue. And going very, very wide, this might present the opportunity for Pinheiro, in fact, because Jacopo Mazza makes a slight mistake through turn 11, but actually is neat and tidy down on the approach to turn 13. Turn 12 labelled as a corner, but you're still accelerating through there as you plummet downhill and then back up the other side. They're now at turn 14 at Sagres, and then through the very fast right-hander at 15 that leads them onto a pretty long straight. And this is probably Pinheiro's best opportunity to slipstream Jacopo Mazza and overtake into turn 1.
Got a good run. Is it a good enough run? We're about to see. Pulls wide, overlap, looks to just bully him out of this corner. I think he's done enough here, Johnny. I think Bernardo Pinheiro, he has. Pulls in front. It's a 1-2 at the moment for Virage. Jacopo Mazza just tries to look to see whether or not he can force him wide on the exit there. But no way. And as we see ahead, Menir Stefan has got his foot down and is gone. So Menir Stefan from Bernardo Pinheiro, 5 seconds the gap. Jacopo Mazza drops to third. They are a good 10 seconds, that trio, ahead of the next car along, which is the number 04 HP Racing by Monza garage car. That's in a battle with the number 50 Ligier JS car of Steve Zakia,
who's just got ahead of Ray Yu Wang. So Ray Yu Wang was called as in 5th position as they headed across the start and finish line, but now Steve Zakia slices by at turn 1 in the Pro-Am leading JS P4. Remember, 3 different categories in JS P4 this weekend. You've got the pros in a sense, although it's not called that in the championship, just the standard JS P4s, then the Pro-Am driver combination, and then the AMS. And leading Pro-Am is Steve Zakia, leaving the AMS Panagiotis Kaitatsis, the Greek teammate of compatriot Kolovos, and the 2 Greeks then switching positions in the pit stop. And that car from HP Racing by Monza Garage is still running in 4th position. The gap is 19 odd seconds though, so he's going to really have to go some, Steve Zakia, to home in on the top 4.
It's effectively a second a minute he needs to close in here to catch and pass the car ahead. If this race runs at pace and without incidents, and when does it ever? 5.8 seconds is the gap, by the way, for the 48 to this number 60 car. Now, what's happened here? This was just the 7 car running way wide. That will cost him more than a couple of tenths. Bernardo Pinheiro pulling away from Jacopo Mazza. It's a warning flag for his troubles, by the way. Must respect track limits. No more, no more. Side by side, Ian Aguilera looking to get by the number 11 car. I think he's going to make that.
Should do, as long as he can run just a tad deeper into turn 1 and prevent Ray Yu Wang from turning in at the ideal point. That's exactly what Aguilera is able to do. Spent a couple of seasons racing in the UK, but he is from Mexico originally. So we have a Mexican and a Kuwaiti in the 75. And an awful lot of other nationalities represented up and down the field with the Ligier European Series.
Absolutely, and now it's about whether Aguilera can get onto terms with Steve Zakia. Watching further down the order, an emerging battle. Max Meyer catching David Rodrigo, closing that gap fast, but Rodrigo is 40 seconds back from Julien Lemoine. So that's battle for the lead. Will need drama to intervene.
Yeah.
Don't think that's going to be done on pace, Johnny. 16 minutes to go.
Well, Lemoine is trying to win effectively 2 championships here, to win in the JS2R AM division, but also JS2R overall. And he's not won either of them yet. Points tally slightly tighter in the overall, as in it's 37 points, the gap, rather than 48. But he just has to win this first race to seal both at the same time. And at the moment, David Rodrigo not really providing the challenge that Julien might have expected with that 40-second gap.
Yeah, and it is now going to be about whether Max Meyer can catch David Rodrigo, which he has done. The gap is now under 2 seconds. So running out of time for the youngster in the number 10 car to get by and close that mighty gap ahead.
Into the first corner goes Ian Aguilera, having cleared Ray Yu Wang a couple of laps ago. The Monza Garage car more of a spec now in the mirrors, but Aguilera charging hard to reel in Steve Zakia, and he's definitely now within his sights. Zakia running in 5th as the leading Pro-Am, as I mentioned. Aguilera is neither in Pro-Am or in Am because of his strong teammate Haytham Karagiuli. So they are effectively 4th in their individual, their subcategory in JSP4. Missing out on a podium finish at this time, though.
This is the battle now for 2nd place. 42 ANS Motorsport of Julien Lemoine, strong leader here, but a real battle, nose to tail now, between the LR Motorsport 43 of David Rodrigo and Max Meyer, the number 10 from RLR M Sports. And it's going to be, I think, an immediate look up the inside. And in fact, he goes for it. Bullies him into just a little late braking. And that was enough. Beautifully done, actually. Didn't quite play the dummy, but looked as if he might go for the gap. And in trying to defend that, just delayed his braking point too late, David Rodrigo. And through goes Max Meyer into second place. The gap, 42 seconds, though, for the lead.
So Max Meyer, who did a season of Spanish F4 last year, but the years before that spent very much in karting, first of all domestically and then more further afield in Europe. This is his first tin top car raced as such, if you step away from the single-seaters, and he's definitely got a focus on a sports car future, whether that be in a prototype or in one of these GT-type cars. But he does have the downforce experience, so stepping into a prototype maybe next year shouldn't be that daunting for Max Meyer, now 18 years old. Speaks with a very British accent. That's because his dad is from the UK, from Norwich, I think, east of England anyway, but moved for business reasons to Spain a number of years ago. And Max has got a younger brother, Toby, as well, who's coming through, but his flavour is much more motorcycles rather than cars. And obviously that's a massive scene in Spain, in their homeland. So we could have two Meyers doing very well in future years.
Excellent stuff. This is Jacques Nicolet coming under a little pressure here from Laura Millara after that struggle through pit lane. Pit stop for that car is shown as 2 minutes and 8 seconds. It didn't delay him that much.
No, agreed.
That said, of course, you would be standing, wouldn't you, waiting for time, and he would have to stand for less. So as long as they got to the car quickly, he shouldn't have been too badly penalised by that.
True, yes. So yeah, some of it can be soaked up by the amount of time you need to be in the pit road anyway.
Fernando Pinheiro, by the way, just put in the fastest lap of the race. It's only a 10th quicker than the current pace of the race leader, so the gap's still 5.5 seconds. Bit of a message there, though, I think, to Meneer Stefan. I'm here. Don't mess this up, because I will be here very quickly.
Yeah. So, yeah, Meneer Stefan turning up the whip, but Bernardo Pinheiro also doing the same by a further 10th. And this is potentially going to be a very exciting internecine battle in the closing stages. We've got just over 11 minutes still to go. Is that an indication of some discussions down at Pegasus that might be going on?
Julien, the team principal, I had a chat with him earlier in the weekend. Tells me they are looking to be back here again with two cars, alongside some Lamborghini Super Trofeo action for the team next season. He's an ex ELMS and, for that matter, WC driver of no little ability himself. Family-owned team, Pegasus Racing. It's always a pleasure to deal with in this or any other paddock.
So back onto the main start-finish line. There's the gap from first to second. Meneer Stefan stretching back to Bernardo Pinheiro. The two of them complete lap 26. 5.7 seconds is the gap, but this time in response, Meneer Stefan slightly quicker, and he's done that through an absolute best through the middle sector.
48 car. Fairly comfortable, but having to push here.
Yeah.
Because of the pace of Pinheiro behind. It's not a done deal yet. 10 minutes to go. Drama not unknown in this level of sports car racing. There is the change for fourth, as that must be the one involved there. It is the one being caught by the leader, I think, again.
So Laura Millara in the blue 29, running in fourth position in JS2 R. Behind him is Jacques Nicolet in the number 86, the blue, white and red car. And there is Meneer Stefan, yes, looking to put a lap on the number one of Kevin Madsen.
This has cost him a bit of time as well, Johnny. 5.9 seconds as he caught the traffic there. But it's taken him a little bit of while to get past those two battling JS2Rs. And of course, there's the other Team Virage car involved as well. Yes, Bernardo Pinheiro has got to do the same. There goes the 48. Number 1 pulls aside, as you might expect from a team car in these circumstances. And away goes Michelin Stefan. Just how much of his lead did that little tussle cost? We'll see as he crosses the line. The answer at the moment is at least a second. Shouldn't be too much of a drama.
I like the fact that Julien Le Mans is not thinking, I've got a 40-second lead, I'll just ease back now. He's just done the fastest lap of the race in JS2 R. So a 1:53.024 is significantly better than anybody else in that category this weekend. On course for the AM victory, the AM championship as well, and the overall championship in JS2 R. It could be a very good morning for Julien Le Mans.
There you go, round the outside of the 29 car goes Bernardo Pinheiro, but he too is going to be, of course, caught up in this. Have closed by about 1.2 seconds as the leader came through traffic, but he'll lose some of that as he too has to deal with the challenge. Just saw a quick shot there, Johnny, before we move back to this battle. Of this battle, this is Ian Aguilera going up the inside to take the 5th place from Steve Zakia, the number 50 Ligier JS car.
Made that stick, but here comes Zakia on the fight back in the braking area for turn 3. Almost caught Aguilera napping there because the young Mexican thought, yeah, I've got the move done, I can chill out a little bit now, and Zakia very nearly snatched it back from him. But that's 5th place, should be in the back pocket now of Ian Aguilera. Quick look behind him in the door mirrors to make sure that Zakia wasn't about to pounce at turn 5. And he can just start to ease away now from the number 50 Le Dussard prepared car.
Yeah, that traffic for the lead, by the way. 7.4 seconds now, so it's cost the chasing Bernardo Pinheiro dearly, and only 7 minutes to go in this race. So edging closer still to another tick in the box for Michelin Stefan. Good move there, by the way, from Ian Aguilera. Teed that up nicely through the final turn, the classic overtaking move here at Portimao. Sweeping right-hander. It does allow to get it right on the entry there. A slipstreaming move down the pit straight. Brave under the brakes will pay off. A bit too brave, though. Does leave the door open to the reverse. Hasn't happened there.
50 car get some information on the pit board, old school style, to say how many laps are likely to be left in the race. They're doing 1:45s at the moment. We've still got 6.5 minutes left on the clock. There's also, we'll be detailing the gap maybe to the car behind, and also well, whether it's likely to overtake the car in front, but it seems unlikely at this stage because Ian Aguilera has shot off into the distance.
Said lap 2, there's been more than 2 laps.
That's kind of what I was questioning as I was uttering that sentence, in truth, because it should be 3 or 4.
Yes.
So L2, I didn't quite understand what that was, but anyway.
Keeping his spirits up.
I'm going to say, yeah, if you tell them they're 2 laps and there happens to be 4, then, well, there'll be an argument afterwards, but it keeps the concentration, doesn't it?
It's a bonus.
We're nearly there.
Max Meyer, by the way, storming along. I think that is the fastest lap in JS2 R now, 1:52.875. So he is closing the gap, but there's running out of time to do so, under 6 minutes and 38 seconds still the gap. So Julien Le Mans looks like claiming this title with a race win, Johnny, at this stage.
Yeah, and he has been a dominant force pretty much through the season. A couple of moments ago, this was the LR car of Jacopo Mazza, all side-to-side contact with Laurent Millara. They did just to get away with that at turn 8, but the gap at the door was closing when it was a fully committed move from Jacopo Mazza. Yes, going back to race results for Julien Le Mans. Actually, the season didn't start quite as well as it then continued on, because it was 2 second places at Barcelona. However, he then won the Le Mans race, which was held on the Sunday of test day, 1 week before the 24 Hours of Le Mans. It was a double victory at Paul Ricard and Spa-Francorchamps. And Aragon was going pretty well on Saturday morning, but then sadly for him a non-finish at Motorland Aragon. The win on that occasion going to one of his opponents, Max Meyer, in fact.
Greek twist combo here. Jacopo Mazza under pressure here from Panagiotis Katatsis. And this is for an overall podium position, Johnny. closing minutes of this race. 4.5 minutes remain on the 04 car. And the Greek driver have got their dander up here.
So yes, Kaitatsis being given a shot in the arm because he is so close to Jacopo Mazza, feeling this is on for a podium finish. Still got the rest of this lap and possibly 2 more after this to get through, depending on where the overall leader is, of course, because the checkered flag will be shown to Minea Stefan, who is heading out, or as we assume it will, but let's not speak too early, but it will be shown to the race leader heading into and out at turn 15 at this stage. He'll have to stick a lap on Max Meyer in a moment or two. So Minea Stefan completing lap 30 on this occasion.
I think he's got possibly 3 more laps.
You reckon 3? Yeah, okay.
Depending on, he's not got enough of an edge because, again, Bernardo Pinheiro has got his foot in. He's taking tenths out of this. He closed by half a second last time. It's not immediate pressure, but it's down to 5.4 seconds. So I'm sure the team will be looking to see the kind of lap time he needs to do to see whether or not there's an opportunity. As we talk about that, we'll talk about this for a moment, because up the inside goes 04 car. That place is going to go the way of the 04 and HP Racing by Monza Garage move up and into a podium position.
Good and tidy overtake from Kaitatsis, although has he messed up turn 3, because now around the outside will go Jacopo Mazza. Kaitatsis gave him no space on the exit of turn 4 though, and said, off towards the curb you go, Jacopo. And thankfully Mazza was able to get out of the throttle. They do say if you put your car on the outside of another on the exit of a fast corner, then really you're compromising, potentially compromising your run through there. There was the ability for Mazza to ease out of the throttle though and get out of a tight predicament in the closing stage of this race.
And Aguilera catching this battling pair for 4th. Jacques Nicolai having none of it from Laura Melara, and Melara is going to have his mirrors full here of the approaching JS P4. In contact, it was on the very last lap, wasn't it, of that same place. They'll be very aware of the risk. This is just going to interrupt that battle as Aguilera looks away by Jacques Nicolai now. Nicolai gives him room. Neatly done, Jacques. Doesn't lose too much pace in doing so either.
Just shows there the ability of the prototype to be able to slow so much more readily than the slightly heavier JS2 R, I suppose. Shooting up the inside. I didn't think Aguilera was going to make the corner, but he did it very easily indeed.
I think he's going to have to do this in 1 more lap.
Yeah.
I think the what's happened here, he'd have loved to have been a bit further ahead and be able to manage the lap time on this final lap. He's not got enough of an edge, just under 5 seconds. As Bernardo Pinheiro continues to close.
Yeah, well, it takes 33 seconds to do the first sector, and I reckon then you kind of take that away from the 1:47 that they're doing, and there was more than that time still on the clock. So he is now heading down the hill out of turn 8. This is Minea Stefan, and through the very fast left-hander at turn 9 at Craig Jones, up to the top as the track plateaus at Portimao, through the double right-hander at turns 10 and 11. And Minea Stefan now having the final sector of 40 seconds to go, and we've got well over 40 seconds still on the clock. So he cannot afford to ease back, because Bernardo Pinheiro is too close at now 4.8 seconds adrift. It will be 1 more time around for the Romanian driver, who's already champion.
Absolutely. And while he does that, Julien Lemoine still 37 seconds ahead of a charging Max Meyer. That's not going to close on pace. Surely no dramas for either these race and one now presumes championship winners. That would be cruel. Crossing the line with 12 seconds to go. Last lap now for Minea Stefan in this penultimate race of the Ligier European Series for 2023. Jacques Nicolai still fends off Laura Melara. Melara looks at the inside, but the 86 car sweeps across and closes any notion that you might have that that's a possibility.
Julien Le Mans is not going to be lapped by Meneer Stefan on this closing lap, though, so that will also mean an extra lap for Le Mans, who is just heading into turn 9 now as the race leader on his final tour comes out of the hairpin at the base of the rotunda, just to the back of the paddock here at the Algarve International Circuit. Jacques Nicolet and Laurent Millara really enjoying this late race tussle for 4th position. And Nicolet in the Le Dusab car, the darker blue, versus the Pegasus car that had that nightmare pit stop where the car ground to a halt, and it required Pegasus and the team members there to run up the pit lane and push the car into the pit bay. Thankfully, it did refire and has continued on since then. Jacopo Mazza, however, is now under investigation for abusing track limits, so that's a potential change if that goes the wrong way for Mazza for the 4th place car, depending on what sort of penalty he gets, though.
Storming final lap here from the 2nd place car. The gap under 4 seconds. It's not going to be quick enough, though, because coming through turn 15 to complete the lap and the races side by side, 4th place now between 86 and 29. We'll switch back now to the end of this race.
Here's Meneer Stefan, already champion, and it's going to be another victory to add to his superb season in 2023. He wins by 3.8 seconds over Bernardo Pinheiro, who was able to do an absolute best sector 1 time on that closing lap. So no doubt about it, Pinheiro was charging hard to try and change the positions of the Team Virage cars, but you get the sense that Meneer Stefan could always have upped the pace if it was necessary.
Max Meyer is home in 2nd. We're yet to see the ANS Motorsport car to confirm the win. It's home and confirmed at least 2nd for Max Meyer. I presume the 42 is going to finish, and still this pair battling away for 4th place. Also home the 43 car of David Rodrigo. Panagiotis Katsatsis completes his run and will finish a fine 3rd. Stefan, we should recall, won that race from the back of the grid.
And it will be his 8th victory of the season. And Jacques Nicolet and Laurent Millara finish in that order as they see the checkered flag on the exit of turn 15. There are only 3 more cars that we need to see, and one of them is Julien Le Mans, who has not exactly had an up and down season. He's taken many victories through the course of the year, but it's taken until now to seal the deal in both the AM Championship and in the overall for JS2 Rs. And this will be his 7th victory of the season. Didn't start, well, it started slightly off at Barcelona with 2 second places, but since then he's managed at least 1 win at every single venue we've been to since, including one of the keystone races at the Le Mans 24-hour support category, because a week before they raced on test day, and that will be the plan for next year as well for the Ligier European Series. But Julien Le Mans, not only the winner in JS2R, but he's also scooping up 2 trophies this weekend for JS2R AM and JS2R overall.
Yep, we'll be on the phone to the local carpenter to build a bigger shelf at home. So lots of silverware to display, and deserved winner here. That was impressive stuff from Julien Le Mans. Really did not feel as if he was under pressure there. Max Meyer put in a fine display to try to close that gap, and there you go, look at this in celebration for Team Virage. All 3 of their JS P4s coming together for what will be a fantastic end of season photo, I'm sure. Still though, remember, 1 race to go here. And until we can bring down the curtain on what has been a really very engaging 2023 season for the Ligier European Series. The first step on the ladder in this ELMS package, Johnny. And it's proved to be a worthy foil to the Michelin Le Mans Cup and European Le Mans Series.
And I think it not only brings new driving talent through, but it's a great entry-level category for a new team wanting to tackle ACO rules racing as well, because it gives you a flavour of how you can win a race like this with its various regulations. So, an hour-long race. Earlier this morning, the Ligier European Series category got underway not well at all for Dimitri Engelbert, who was starting from third position on the grid. The 17 Pegasus racing car went absolutely nowhere. George King, though, on the other hand, snatched the race lead away from Simone Riccitelli before this slight error at the end of the first lap. And George King, thankfully, didn't find any of the circuit scenery, but he did lose the position to the LR Motorsport car, and young Simone Riccitelli of Italy slicing through, ready to pounce. So George King had to work hard to get back his positions. Also, Minea Stefan starting from the back of the grid after a big crash 2 days ago in free practice 1, nibbling away first of all at Chuting Shu in the Monza garage car and eventually getting by. Then the Monza garage car would start to tackle the George King Team Virage machine, and they would be side by side for several corners. The scrapping in the JS2 Rs began in earnest very early on as well, with Martin Rich beginning the number 10 car just ahead of David Rodrigo. George King took this chance to get by Chuting Shu at least briefly, although the Taiwanese driver then sliced back up the inside at turn 3 to repay the favour. Simone Riccitelli, after his pit stop, would eventually hand over to Jacopo Mazza, all the cars needing to pit once, according to the rules, at roughly half distance. And this was the moment that Julien Le Mans came in. He did not have a co-driver to hand over, though, over to, because the title winning needed to be done all by the Frenchman. And the 42 car was in the right position to do that as the race leader. So Minea Stefan came into pit lane as well. Then the LR Motorsport car rejoining, and then side-by-side action for Team Virage as Minea Stefan picked off Bernardo Pinheiro in the number 60 car. Stefan then took the race lead over Jacopo Mazza, delicately slowing the car into turn 5. It was squirming and sliding beneath him, but a really good fight for that lead in the race, particularly as really the pressure is off Minea Stefan this weekend. Then late on, Bernardo Pinheiro dicing with Jacopo Mazza, who then eventually would run wide coming out of turn 14 leading up to 15. Max Meyer almost thinking his chance to overtake at turn 5 was gone in the number 10 car, but Rodrigo in the corner ran a touch wide and the young Spaniard was through. And then the 04 car of Ray Yu Wang dicing with Jacopo Mazza side by side. Ray Yu Wang on the inside of turn 4, forcing Mazza wide and cementing that position. But the checkered flag, and not for the first time, is flown in the direction of Minea Stefan. That's his 8th win of the season and further extending his championship lead. It's a title he already owns, of course, but Julien Le Mans becomes a double title holder, taking JS2R in the AM and the overall categories.
So titles well won by Julien Le Mans. There is the overall result, 33 laps completed. Another win for Minea Stefan, our champion in JS P4 this year, from Bernardo Pinheiro and George King, just 3.8 seconds back from the sister Team Virage car, and the Greek duo, Katatsis and Kolovas. A fine overall podium for the HP Racing by Monza Garage 04 car, ahead of Simone Riccitelli and Jacopo Mazza. In JS2R, Julien Le Mans untroubled there after a great run, ahead of Martin Rich and Max Meyer, who bring home the number 10 RLRM Sport car. Second, David Rodrigo, a fighting third in the 43 LR Motorsport car. But it is Julien Le Mans that has a double title haul as a result of the win today, Johnny.
And exciting times towards the end of the season. What his plans are for the future. From Graham Goodwin and Johnny Palmer, it's bye-bye for now. Because the second race of the weekend is later today, remember. Busy day here at Portimao tomorrow with the final round of the Michelin Le Mans Cup and the final round of the European Le Mans Series as well. Another 4 hours for those races, those cars to come. But today's second Ligier European Series race is a 4:10 start. We'll be on air at 4:05 there with the build-up, and then to take you through the grid ahead of a rolling start and another 60 minutes to complete this year's Ligier European Series event. My thanks to Graham Goodwin from Johnny Palmer. We'll see you later on for more Ligiers.
by JS P4 overall, and I call to the podium the third position crew, the car number 4 with Georgios Perikis Kolovos and Kaitatsis Panagiotis. Third position team, Kolovos and Panagiotis from Greece. HP Racing team number 4. Second position, number 60, George King and Bernardo Pinheiro. And the winner for this first race already, the champion number 48, Minea Stefan. Also the team manager from Team Virage, to the podium please. And it's time to celebrate the first 3 cars, number 4, 60 and 48, and also the national anthem from Poland for the winner. A big round of applause for the first 3 crews after this first race. Time for champagne and also for the photo. Please stay for the photo. And now also for the winners in JS P4 Pro M with the car number 50, Steve Zacchia and Louis Rossi. Also the team manager from the team Les Deux Arbres, and also the winners from GSP4 AM car number 4, Georgios Periklis Kolovos and Kaitatsis Panagiotis from Greece, car number 4. Also the team manager from HP Racing by Monza Garage. Congratulations to the winners from GSP4 AM and also the other winners from GSP4 category. And we go for JS2 R overall. Third position, car number 43, David Rodrigo. Second position, car number 10, Martin Rich and Massimo Schmeier. And the winner with the car number 42 from France, Ligier Le Mans. Also the team manager from ELMS Motorsport. And we celebrate the win from Ligier Le Mans with the national anthem from France. Time for a photo, for a champagne if you want. There are still two other winners to be celebrated here at Autódromo Internacional do Algarve from this first race of the Ligier European Series. And the winners from JS2 R Pro AM with the car number 10, Martin Rich and Massimo Schmeier. Also the team manager from the team, RLRM Sport. And our final celebration for this first race of the day, the winners from JS2 R AM, car number 42, Ligier Le Mans. Also the team manager from the team ELMS Motorsport and family. Thank you all for this fantastic race, also for this celebration here at the paddock. See you later after the second race of the day.